I'm so sorry, everyone, some connection problems. Again, this is Anto with Be Latina. Today, we're going to be talking about the importance of women's vote, and especially the Latina vote, with Daniela Perez, a communications associate with Supermajority. So I'm really, really excited about it. Let's just get started. Hi, Daniela.
Hi,
How are you?
can you hear me good?
Yeah, I can hear you well.
Awesome. Hold on, let me raise the volume. How are you?
I'm doing well, and you?
Good. I apologize for the lack of background. There's huge construction on the street, and I wanted to have a nicer ambiance, but the white wall will do.
You're good. You're good. I got lucky because my house is kind of colorful, so I just stay here.
Yes.
But you're good. Where are you in the world?
I am in DC, but I recently moved from Miami.
Oh, okay. I'm from Miami too. Are you
Yes, I
missing
noticed
the
that.
heat?
What?
Are
I
you missing the heat?
It's
Or
actually still quite hot here.
okay, okay, that's good. So let's jump right in.
Of
Um,
course.
yeah. So Daniela, can you tell us a little bit about Supermajority's mission and just the organization and your role within?
Of course. Well, Supermajority and Supermajority Education Fund were founded by a few badass women, including Cecile Richards, Alicia Garza, Aijen Pu, and Jess Morales Roqueto. It was founded to harness the power of women of all backgrounds, ages, and races, especially ahead of this election. Our main priority now is to ensure that women have the information, resources, and the community they need to post their ballot in November. And
Awesome.
my and my role is basically to ensure that the priorities, that the mission and the values are reflected.
Awesome. So, right now that we're so close to the election, what are some of the priority issues that Supermajority has in mind?
So, based on recent research that Supermajority and Supermajority Education Fund conducted, we found out that women want leaders to address our most pressing challenges with actual plans that will end the COVID-19 pandemic, combat rampant racism and racial injustice, protect our protect our votes in our democracy, and protect the Affordable Care Act and ensure economic stability. Because women are the majority of voters, the majority of volunteers, the majority of donors, and at one point they were the majority of the labor force until the pandemic hit. And we need to ensure that women have are reflected within this country's priorities as the majority. And if those issues that are impacting us aren't listened to, we have to ensure that our voices are heard.
Right. And so, women's as a whole is a huge population with different ethnicities, different races, and you organize to make sure that women's rights are protected and that women's issues are addressed. So, how do you keep your demands intersectional?
Well, one of the reasons I actually joined Supermajority was because it kept intersectionality at the heart of its organization. Supermajority accepts people of all backgrounds, ages, and races, and trans women, gender nonconforming folks, and femmes, and anyone who identifies with women is encouraged to join Supermajority at supermajority.com. And because essentially we cannot fight the institutions and systems built to hold us back unless we do so together.
Right. And so you have, even in your staff, I mean, you are Latina, right? You are
Yes,
Colombian, correct? So
yes.
even with your staff, you do have, people who can contribute to this matter, correct?
Absolutely. I think that's been one of the most beautiful things about Supermajority is that its mission is reflected not only externally but internally as well, which allows us to have a better perspective because if Latina women aren't working from inside, if Black women aren't working from inside, we are not effectively doing the work.
Of course. And so it must be it's a race for you guys too, and it's a race for all the organizations that are trying to push the vote so near the election. So can you tell us why voting is particularly important this year? Why is it so essential for people to go out and vote?
Of course. Well, voting is always important, but this year with the pandemic, millions of lives are on the line. This pandemic has made it clear that the systems and institutions in this country weren't built to benefit women, especially women of color. And I want to make it clear that systemic and institutionalized oppression existed pre-COVID, and this pandemic just ripped the band-aid off and made it worse. Everything is at stake in 2020, and it's an incredibly and crucial election year for women across the country because Our reproductive and affordable health care is on the line, our voting rights, our election rights, equal pay, and there's so much on the ballot. And we need to make sure that every vote is counted and that everybody is represented accurately within this election.
And it's been, specifically, if we're talking about women, it's been 100 years since the 19th Amendment passed, which led white women actually vote, not all women. So right now, what do you think is the significance in women's vote, all women's vote?
Well, as you said, the 19th Amendment only gave white women the right to vote. Women of color, specifically Black women, they didn't have the right to vote protected up until the Voting Rights Act of 1965. And voter suppression still runs rampant. And the reason I allude to the 1965 is because the majority of our parents were already living within that period. And it's been so recent and there's still so much progress left to be made. And women, especially women of color, are facing unique and increased challenges as a result of this pandemic. And I especially want to bring awareness to how Latinas have been impacted because a lot of organizations, and I'm not stating names, but tend to view the Latinx population as a monolith. And there's so many unique challenges within each community, especially the Latinx population. And ahead of this election, the Latinx population is going to be the largest ethnic or racial minority to participate in a US presidential election, with the record number of 32 million projected to be eligible to vote. And women vote at higher rates than men across all racial and ethnic groups, but Latina women, they tend to vote at lesser rates compared with other women from other groups. And this could be for a variety of reasons. They may not be effectively reached out to, but something that I've said within my team is that translation does not mean reaching out to. And so just because it's translated doesn't mean you're doing the work. And essentially, we have to provide a space for Latina women to feel empowered, to have their voices recognized, to have their perspective acknowledged. And and so the reason that I went to that tangent is because women of color are facing unique challenges, and this is reflecting within our economy, it's reflecting within our priorities. And for example, within the recent jobs report released by the Labor Department, we discovered that 865,000 women dropped out of the workforce in September, compared to 216,000 men. And out of that huge number, 324,000 were Latinas. And Black and Latina women, their unemployment rate rises above 10% compared with white men, which is 6.5%, which is outstanding. Like, it's just astounding, considering the fact that Latina women still make 54 cents to a white man's dollar. So women must vote this year, especially women of color, because we need to protect the lives and livelihood of women. And especially we need to vote to protect the rights of those who can't vote this year.
Yeah. And I don't even think it was a tangent, because it's so important, right? Like, we are such a huge voting power, especially Latinas. And like you said, it's not necessarily about translation of just words and language, but translation of context. I mean, if you're not reaching out within the communities where they are and in accessible ways, how do you really make sure that, they're getting the information, and they even...
Exactly.
Yeah. So, and with this in mind, what do you think are some of the issues? I know you mentioned some, but what are some other issues that Latinas have that are really concerned about coming up to this election?
Well, definitely the unemployment rate, because I feel like just the unemployment rate, it already reflects the issues that they're facing with, which means, why are they unemployed? The majority of them were in industries that were hard hit by the pandemic, such as domestic work, retail, hospitality, and also many of them, they do not have access to affordable childcare or paid family leave. I know, most Latinas, we have the responsibility of being almost the carriers of our families in many ways, and it goes into elder care, child care, family care, and we just don't have any reflective policies that actually can assist us. And so that has led to a huge decline in employment. And I think that's just reflective of the entire issues, of all the issues being faced by Latinas.
Yeah, it is, because like you said, even with domestic work, there are so many rights that have not been accomplished, and there are so many, problems with the ways we treat domestic workers. As it is, it's really, horrible, the conditions in which they work, and now they don't even have a job. So you're absolutely right. This reflects all the other problems that were already happening for decades. And so how is supermajority creating change on the ground? How, are you guys getting out the vote, or what kind of events are you having? Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, of course. So as I said, women will be the deciders of this election. It's important that we get as many people as we can to get involved and to see how they can make an impact in this year's election. We've done this through several programs that I'll dive into soon. But most notably, we just recently had our Day of Action, which happened on September 26th. This launched our event, our Supercharged 2020 Women All In event. This was a really fun event. We had special guests like Senator Kamala Harris, Senator Bernie Sanders, Dolores Huerta, Eva Longoria. It was super fun and it was great. And we had and actually we released one of my favorite features, which was our voter checklist. It's available in English and Spanish, and our voter checklist essentially aims to provide our members with three things, which is to check your voter registration status, to make a plan to vote, and you can request your absentee ballot through our member portal, which it's free, by the way. You can log in at supermajority.com, and our ballot guide, which I think is a great feature because will give you a sample ballot and you can see what the candidates are running on. We'll give you every single candidate, doesn't matter your party, we're offering it. And I think it's a great opportunity to give folks the information they need so that they can feel informed ahead of November. So we unveiled that during our Day of Action, and we had approximately 100,000 RSVPs. So this gave us the memo that women are energized and we need to take advantage of that energy, especially in the next 28 days. So we're going to have another Day of Action on October 17th. This will be organized by Supermajority, but we will be joined by women's, labor, teacher, a bunch of organizations, and we're going to host approximately 2,000 micro events across the country, virtually and in person. And the reason we chose this date is because there's 36 states that will be in the middle or in the process of early in-person voting. And so that we're hoping to bank in votes.
Yeah. Lots of work, but that's amazing. Yeah.
And if you're going out to vote, please do it safely, please do it early, please wear your mask, and volunteer to be a poll worker if you can.
That's a really, really important reminder. So thank you, Daniela, for all of this amazing opportunities. How can people get involved a little bit more with your organization? How can they volunteer? And if you can remind us where they can get the checklist, that would be great as well.
Of course. Well, one of the recent programs we actually had over the past year, we've launched several programs. For example, this summer we had our Majority Leaders program, which was a summer program of webinars so that women can learn how to do relational organizing, fight disinformation, and center women of color in the workplace. That was a huge success, and I'm looking forward to having that program again. Early this year, we also launched our Super Women Tuesdays and Wednesdays, where volunteers can text bank, phone bank, and send letters to high opportunity voters. And also our volunteers, we're also training at least 2,500 in our Super Majors program, which has the incredible goal of reaching 2 million eligible women to vote, and in order to get them to vote this fall in our key states. You can join Supermajority and access the website supermajority.com, scroll down, click volunteer to be a part of these incredible programs. And also, if you want any specific links, I'll be happy to share them after this Instagram live.
Yeah, of course.
I almost called it a call.
Yeah. Sorry, I think it was cutting off a little bit. I don't know if it might have been my connection or yours. But yeah, of course, please send me all the links so we can put them up. And people can just easily swipe up and check everything they have to do in order to make sure that they're prepared to vote this year, and also to volunteer and take advantage of all these amazing opportunities that Supermajority is organizing and all the events that you guys are having. So thank you so much for joining us today and telling us about this, Daniela. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for your time, and you can always reach out to us if you have any questions. We're always happy to answer any of them. And also, if you know anybody who likes to talk, tell them to volunteer as phone bankers because we need those.
Oh, yeah. We do need them. Yeah, I will. So let's get all those links out, and I'll make sure to put them in the description below. And please, everyone who's watching, send this to your friends, send this to your family. This video will stay in our page, and this is how they get the answers, what kind of issues that we're fighting for, and how are we reaching out to women and to Latinas specifically. So please, please, please send this to everyone you know. And yeah, thank you so much, Daniela, for
Thank you so
joining us
much.
today.
Have a great rest of your week.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.